Hi, it's Helena. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Let me tell you the 5 reasons why you will never get a promotion. Let's jump into it. Number 1 is a lack of initiative. Number 2 is poor communication skills. Number 3 is resistance to feedback. Number 4 is inconsistent performance. And number 5 is a bonus where I tell you the real deal, so you'll have to stay to the end or just scroll and get to the point. So let me tell you why you will never get a promotion. Number 1 is a lack of initiative. If you are only doing your job, the exact bullet points that they gave you, and you said, well, they said this is my job and these only people I will have to work with, that is not the mindset. You have to look at your job and see, are there any gaps? Are there any ways that I can improve my job? Are there any systems that I can put in place? Any processes that can be faster? Maybe they don't have distribution lists created. Maybe there's a disconnect in the status time between work orders being submitted to IT and people don't know if it's low, if it's high, if it's an urgent request. And you're seeing some gaps on how to get things done quickly, more efficiently, and then you present those ideas and you make those changes. So I would pretend that every year, every day, really, I'm working towards that year-end review. So every month, think of it 30, 60, 90 days. Put yourself on a performance review and ask yourself, what am I going to do this month to improve myself, to improve my role, and to contribute to the company? I mentioned before in another video that most companies offer LinkedIn Learning for free. If not, I believe LinkedIn offers it for 30 days for free. And you can see what classes would benefit your role and get those certifications, so you can at least say, I earned such and such classes, because most employers, unless they have regulated training for you, they know that you don't really have time to take classes, especially dedicated to your role. So some of those classes are literally like 30 minutes to an hour, but they will give you a digital certificate. And then if you're seeing things that need processes, need systems, because right now we are heavily moving into AI. So if you, and these are more for corporate office jobs, not, I know the government, you pretty much move up in levels, but corporate jobs rely heavily on your work and other things, which I'll talk about. But if you find ways to make the processes smoother, you see that there are some options using AI in your work. Don't worry, AI won't take your job if you are solution oriented. If you can pretty much think of how AI can be beneficial to your role, put some systems in place, put some processes in place, and put that there. If they don't already have a distribution list and Outlook, and you're constantly communicating to your team, you can create some of those things. But really see, what can I do differently to transform my role, to make my role even better, okay? Having some initiative and making your role better, it automatically contributes to the company, okay? The second thing is poor communication skills. If you have a difficulty expressing your ideas, if you don't collaborate with your team in your department, they're sending out messages, they're sending out things where they can use some help, use some extra hands. They're trying to get things done. You may see these big, massive emails, and they're saying, hey, we're trying to have this meeting, we're trying to go over some financials, we're trying to do these things with operations, we're doing these things with supply chain. You're seeing they're doing things, and you could actually contribute some thoughts to that. So get in a habit of, if you don't like speaking up on these Zoom calls and these different meetings, put it in the chat box. Put it in the chat box and say, hey, I got some ideas on that. Make it visible to the team, okay? And I've mentioned in another video to screenshot it, that you contact and say, hey, Mike, I have some ideas that for what we're discussing now. I'd love to, set aside some time to talk to you about it. Put it in the Zoom so people go, oh, what are these ideas? So start communicating effectively, expressing your ideas. I know it pushes a lot of people out of their comfort zone, and I know some high-end professionals that are afraid to death to speak in meetings and Zoom calls. And I'm talking physicians, I'm talking not all attorneys, but I do know some professors that have a background as an attorney. They don't like talking, they like doing research. So everybody, just because they have certain titles, does not mean they like to communicate. So don't worry if you're not a big communicator. But if you can write it and type it and say, hey, I think I got some ideas, or I volunteer to work with such and such team, do that. Collaborating is really important, because people say they do, but they don't do it voluntarily. They don't do it willingly, okay? And then 3 is resistance to feedback. You have to be open to feedback. You have to be open to constructive criticism. Sometimes it's how it's given, but a lot of times it's not going to be given lightly. You know, if somebody's going to criticize something that you're doing, take into consideration, is this something that can actually be done? And if it's nothing that can actually be done, you just take it with a grain of salt. But if they're actually giving you some feedback, like I know one of the biggest things has been talking to people about their attitude, especially like people in the front desk. That your attitude when people first come into a company is so important. It has to be pleasant. That's why we love Chick-fil-A. Okay, they're smiling, they're ready to take your order, they take your name, and then they always say it's a pleasure. And if they forgot something, which is rare, but you say, hey, I wanted Chick-fil-A sauce, I wanted ketchup, it's a pleasure. You know, hold on, Alexa, stop. That's my alarm. This is early, but anyhow, have that mentality where you are, you know, willing to accept it. And a lot of times, if you feel like, hey, this is not the time or place for that, you feel like you're being attacked with the criticism, just write it down. Hold on, Alexa, stop. And you feel like you're being attacked with this criticism, just ask them, can you send that to me in email? Especially if they verbally told you, ask them if they could send it to you in an email, and with some ways in order for you to improve it. Because a lot of people will criticize you, but they won't give constructive feedback. Constructive feedback is, we notice that you have an attitude when people come into it, the front desk, and they're like, what do you mean an attitude? You're not greeting people by saying good morning. You're not greeting people by saying, okay, you know, we have a lot of people, we'll get to you in a moment. Just acknowledging them even when you're busy. So giving constructive feedback. For me, when I have to give feedback to my team, I always say, these are the things that I liked best, and these are some things that we can do differently. You will hear people will give you some praise over something you did well, and then they will lead into it. But everybody doesn't soften the blow for feedback. So when they give it to you, make sure it's constructive and see how you can actually make those changes, okay? And then 4 is inconsistent performance. Like some days you're going hard, some days you're not, some days you come in late, some days you come in early, some days, you know, it's inconsistent. We can't say, oh, they always are on time, and if you give it to them, it's gonna get done in the next 24 hours. Like, you don't have this reputation for a sense of urgency, a sense of responsibility, a sense of getting it done. Like, people want to work with people they know will get it done. Every boss I've ever had said, once I give it to Helena, it's done. It's done. They know I'm taking it like a relay. I'm taking it, running with it, passing it on, or I'm getting it done myself, passing that finish line. And so you want to build a reputation where you not only meet expectations, you exceed expectations. And any job that I've ever gone on and they say, oh, they never give anybody exceeds expectations, I always get exceeds expectations, because I go in knowing that it's a review coming up. And if anything, it's me reviewing my own performance. I'm not coming into a job just thinking, okay, I just need to do my job. Now, as you get older, because now I'm 45, sometimes I know I'm not the person that's trying to climb the corporate ladder. I've already been director. I've already been manager. I've already done that. So if you know, you know. But when you're younger, you go hard. Okay. When you're older, you're like, okay, I got my job. I'm good. So some people, managers can tell when you are content. But if you are wanting a promotion, not just that 3 to 5% increase, you are going to have to exceed expectations, and that's doing more than expected, or at least doing your job very well, okay? And the final one, the bonus, is No, when I grew up, I'm Gen X. When I grew up, I was told the harder you work, the more likely you are to be promoted. Work hard, you're going to get paid more, you're going to get promoted. That is a lie. That is a lie. It is not the case. The people that work the hardest get more work, especially if they're not taking initiative to transform their role, initiative to improve themselves professionally, initiative to collaborate where they're visible. These people are going to be stuck in this role because not only that, your boss knows that they can count on you. They know that you're going to work hard. They know that they're going to give you more. They know that you're going to do it. And when you're ready to be promoted, they're going to tell you they're not going to promote you. They'll bring in somebody external before they promote you because they know they can count on you to get the job done. So some people, some companies will trap you. And that's usually after the 3 to 5 year mark. So you'll see a lot of people say, oh, I've been here for 15 years, 20 years, however long they've been at the company, because they end up getting trapped. And the way they got trapped is, number one, I want you to, especially if you're young, make sure before you even take that job, ask and do your own research and look for the organization chart in that department, or ask them, can I get the organization chart for this department, and see what would your next role be. A lot of people get stuck in their job and cannot be promoted in their department, and they've been fell in love with that department because they know how to do their job with their eyes closed, okay? And they're comfortably uncomfortable because they did not look and see what will be your next role. There's no other position for you. There's no other way for you to go up. And when there's no other way for you to go up, you need to be preparing for another department that has opportunities for your growth. Because even when you go into the interview for another opportunity, they'll say, well, why do you want to work here? Because I maxed out my growth there. There's no more opportunities for growth. And that has been a legitimate reason why I have left companies and why so many people leave companies. So before you even take the job, see how far you can go, get as much experience as you can. If you know you're not going to be able to shoot for the very top, but you see where you can grow. And once you hit that cap, it's time to move on. And a lot of people hit that cap and then they stay. Okay. Yeah, so that's about basically it. So just working hard and just, running this hamster wheel, running on this treadmill is not going to be enough if you are not communicating effectively, if you're not collaborating, if you're not trying to think of ways to improve the process. I'm telling you, every year in review, make sure you have created at least 3 ways to make your job more efficient, easier for the next person, be able to communicate it to the next person. Do you know how many people leave their job and the person that comes in behind them that has no clue what to do? Do you know what I did that made me get a $10,000 raise when I first started when I was super young? Okay, I created a SOP. I came into a role and nobody told me what to do, and I just learned as I go. And since I'm crazy about keeping a notebook, I wrote down every day, this is what I have to do, this is what I have to do, this is how often I have to meet with the team, this is what is expected of me. And I created a standard operating procedure booklet. So the next person behind me was able to do my job without me being there. And I set it all up in processes, not in, oh, you gotta call Sherry, you gotta call John. No. This is what you do. These are the steps that you go through on our intranet. These are the steps you use at the copier. These are the steps you use. So get in the habit of processes too, and don't be so focused on people, because people come and go. But don't get in a position where you're comfortably uncomfortable because you know you can do your job like the back of your hand. You know you can come in a little bit late. You know you can waste an hour checking emails and drinking coffee before you really jump into your work. Like, a lot of people say they work 8 hours, but a lot of times they get to work and they think about, what am I have for breakfast? What am I have for lunch? And I'm not saying anything's wrong, because like I said, as I get older, I'm like, I do my role, but I'm always going to exceed it. I'm going to always think. So I would rather think smarter than harder, but I like to think in processes and results and solutions. And if you can change that mindset, you will be promoted. And make sure that you know the people that are going to be part of your promotion. So if you're moving up in a department, make sure that you are visible to those people. I know people, hey, it's a game, it's a game. They need to see you. They need to know that you exist. Okay, it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you, and they need to know that you are wanting to grow. Okay, and showing initiative will do that. So I hope this is helpful. Please drop in the comments if you feel like you're stuck, if you feel like, hey, I've done all these things and I still haven't gotten promoted. Do you have any suggestions for the younger generation? Just drop right here, because I feel like we could help each other, and these are some things that I've learned in my career. Hope this is helpful. Have a great day. Bye-bye.